This is the fourth in our series on projectile and powder tests in the Ruger Old Army revolver. In this series, we're looking at three different projectile types. We're looking at round balls, we're looking at standard 225 grain conical bullets, and we're looking at the heavy 255 grain hunting conicals made by Kaido Ojama. We've been testing each of these projectiles with two different kinds of powder. Goex 3FG black powder and the more powerful black powder substitute 777, also in 3FG granulation. In this episode, we're going to be testing the 225 grain conical bullet with 777 substitute black powder. Ruger performance testing before, but in this series I'm going to try to address some of the criticisms we got in our earlier series. One of those criticisms, of course, is that we used a 14-inch barrel custom Ruger Old Army instead of stock lengths. I want to thank Rowdy Yates for providing me with a 5.5-inch barreled Ruger and a 7.5-inch barreled Ruger for this test. Alright, the procedure for loading with 777 is pretty much like loading with black powder, just a little bit different. I'm going to use a different powder charge. I'm going to use a 30 grain charge instead of a 35 grain charge, and the reason for that is because 777 does not like compression. So I'm going to show you how we figured that out, how we figure out the charge. So I'm going to pour the charge in the chamber. And as you'll recall, I told you previously that we've got this dowel marked somewhere. Here we go. We've got this dowel marked for the depth of the bullet, and the top line represents how much of room in that chamber that bullet's going to take up when it's seated. So with 30 grains, I'm going to put this in here. And as you can see, we're almost up to that line. So we're still going to get a tiny bit of compression, and I don't want any more compression than that when I seat this bullet. So let me get the bullet started. It is, all right, let me get that thing seated. There we go. That is very hard to do while looking through the lens instead of looking at the bullet. All right, and now I'm just going to send it home. And I want to make sure I get it below the chamber mouth, which I do, and not much more than that. So we're going to load up 5 chambers, cap them, and then go shoot them. Well, it's time to shoot the 5.5-inch barreled Ruger Old Army with conicals and 777. So this is a 225 grain conical and 30 grains of 777. Now let's take the 5.5-inch Ruger and get a velocity check on the 225 grain conical loaded with 30 grains of 777 powder. So let's see how it does. Now let's see how many bottles we can push through when we take that 225 grain conical and we push it with T3. And we'll start with a 5.5-inch barrel. Oh, it's six and out the side. We seem to be getting deflection today. Well, let's see what the 7.5 inch barreled Ruger loaded with 225 grain conicals and 30 grains of 777 can do on paper. Well, let's see how fast the 225 grain conicals are moving when they come out of a 7.5 inch barrel powered by 30 grains of 777. Now let's see how we do with the 7.5 inch barrel shooting a 225 grain conical powered by 777. Try to keep them. And out the side, we seem to be getting deflection. I know the bottles are lined up straight and I know I'm shooting straight. So it's got to be that the water is causing the bullets to deflect somehow because they're all moving around. So I'm not getting as good a penetration test as I would want.